Welcome to the Scottish Rite Journal podcast, an audio presentation of the Scottish Rite Journal, brought to you by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. This week's article is Esoteric Masonic Wisdom and Sublime Allegory in Poe's The Pit and the Pendulum by Brothers Andre Antonescu, 32nd degree, Charles E.A. Lincoln, 32nd degree, and Andrew Ullman, 32nd degree, and comes from the November-December 2024 issue of the Scottish Rite Journal. Edgar Allan Poe's literary repertoire is renowned for dark and enigmatic stories that delve into the mysterious and macabre. Among his notable works, his 1842 tale, The Pit and the Pendulum, stands as a quintessential example of what is often termed in America Gothic fiction, drawing readers into a realm of suspense, terror, and psychological intricacies. Yet Poe's symbols, motifs, and philosophy often transcend a Gothic facade, as we shall see in examining this work from a different direction, as we suggest that one also can view The Pit and the Pendulum as a profound exploration into the core principles of Freemasonry. By examining the story through this lens, we uncover a layered allegory that mirrors the journey of a Masonic initiate, a journey fraught with challenges, symbolic trials, and the pursuit of enlightenment, while also offering to the initiate possibilities of transformation, enlightenment, and rebirth. If you're a Master Mason, check out the Master Craftsman Online College, the premier education platform from the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Southern Jurisdiction. From Craft Lodge to Scottish Rite philosophy, visit www.mastercraftsmancollege.org for complete info and use promo code SRJ2024, that's SRJ2024 for 20% off any course. In Masonic lore, the concept of a pit often symbolizes the unknown, a realm of darkness and ignorance that the initiate must confront. In Poe's story, the pit represents the abyss of fear and despair, a place where the protagonist faces the prospect of a terrifying, unknown fate of falling into an abyss. Yet, according to Poe in his tale, there is the sulphurous light which illumined the cell. This aligns with the Masonic journey, in which initiates are encouraged to confront their inner darkness and fears as a necessary step towards enlightenment. The pit, therefore, is not just a physical threat, but a metaphor for the psychological and spiritual trials an initiate must endure and overcome. We can also see the pit as a tempting but imprudent choice to escape pain and despair, but also hope and victory. Very briefly, the protagonist seems to consider his oblivion as a better path to death than the slashing of the blade. It represents a sort of morbid or fatalistic temptation that should be resisted. More literally, it can be seen as representing darkness and ignorance. Instead of pushing oneself to comprehend and resolve the pressing problems one faces, one may choose the path of ignorance and oblivion. Another interesting view to take is that darkness suggests the Masonic North being a place of darkness, thus the side of the lodge that no officer occupies. Poe writes when describing the pit in his tale, "My cognizance of the pit had become known to the inquisitorial agents. The pit whose horrors had been destined for so bold a recusant as myself. The pit, typical of hell, and regarded by rumor as the ultima thule of all their punishments. Thule refers to the northernmost part of the ancient world, often an island like Iceland, representative of darkness, desolation, and emptiness. Such an analysis could offer an interesting potential allegory." The swinging pendulum in Poe's narrative is a vivid symbol of the inexorable passage of time and the impending threat of death. In Masonic symbolism, the pendulum or scythe often is associated with the inevitability of time and certainty of mortality. For Masonic initiates, the recognition of mortality is crucial to understanding the importance of moral and spiritual development in the limited time afforded to human life. The sharp-edged pendulum in the story with its slow and relentless motion ever downwards towards its human victim, encapsulates this concept, serving as a reminder of the protagonist's mortality and the need to use his time wisely to seek salvation and enlightenment. The act of overcoming this puzzle of sorts, while being observed by the inquisitors, can perhaps in some way be seen to symbolize the various trials and tribulations that the Masonic initiate must overcome, not only directly as part of his Masonic journey, but also afterwards as per his duties and obligations from the craft in the way he conducts himself throughout life and to his fellow man. In some ways, we always are being watched and held accountable by our fellow brothers after taking such an obligation. More immediately and allegorically, the sharp blade of the pendulum can mean the symbolic reminder of the Mason violating his obligations. The protagonist's confinement in a cell is symbolic of the limitations and constraints that bind the human condition. In Freemasonry, the process of initiation often involves symbolic and semiotic confinement or restraint, representing the initiate's separation from the material world to focus on spiritual growth. Perhaps most importantly, Poe mirrors the Masonic conception of self-improvement and growth when he writes in his tale, "Even in the grave all is not lost, else there is no immortality for man." The cell in Poe's story can be interpreted as a metaphor for this stage of seclusion and introspection, where the protagonist is compelled to confront his innermost thoughts and fears. This confinement becomes the crucible for transformation, mirroring the Masonic ideal of using periods of trial and introspection for self-improvement and growth. The symbolism of the darkness of the cell as the prisoner is led down the stairs towards his confinement by his captors may mirror how a Mason is led initially in darkness, not knowing what to expect or if things will end well, but needing to place his trust in himself and his future brothers, as described by Poe. Shortly afterward, I resumed my tour around the prison. I had counted 52 paces, and upon resuming my walk, there were in all then 100 paces, and, admitting 2 paces to the yard, I presumed the dungeon to be 50 yards in circuit. Perambulation is a key idea in this passage. This walking around in the dark, searching for knowledge in an unknown setting, counting steps in the absence of other information, making note of the dimensions of the seemingly methodically laid out chamber, all suggests some perverse parallel to the experience of the initiate in a degree ritual. Moreover, the fire that engulfs the protagonist's cell after he narrowly escapes death by the pendulum could symbolize ongoing external challenges, reminding us that the difficulties faced by Masons extend beyond the formal attainment of degrees. This serves as a poignant reminder that Masons continually are tested to maintain their principles throughout their lives. A reader also could view this all as a representation of the Masonic chamber of reflection. The vault in this story certainly serves as a place of reflection of a sort. Faced with his own imminent death, the protagonist contemplates what has led him here, what will happen if he fails, and how he can attempt to escape given the situation presented to him. The protagonist's last-minute rescue by the French army invites multiple interpretations. Most obviously, it could represent the forces of the Enlightenment overcoming the forces of capricious tyranny. More symbolically, it could represent fellow Masons providing crucial aid, both of a moral and material nature, at a crucial time in one's life. Additionally, the Inquisition might symbolize the ongoing adversities Masons face, suggesting the ordeal as a test of faith and resilience, demanding both personal efforts to evade dangers, like the pendulum, and be confident in fraternal support for eventual succor. Although there is no definitive evidence of Edgar Allan Poe's Masonic membership, he was undoubtedly familiar with Freemasonry, which was significant in his era and appears directly in his writings. The symbolic elements of the pit, the pendulum, and the cell in the pit and the pendulum resonate deeply with Masonic themes. These symbols serve to frame the protagonist's ordeal as a reflection of the Masonic journey, one that encompasses the trials of initiation, the recognition of mortality and the passage of time, and the pursuit of self-improvement through introspection. Further, the journey of the protagonist in the story mirrors the Masonic initiate's progression from darkness to light, symbolizing the transformative process of overcoming fear, embracing knowledge, and striving for moral and spiritual growth. The various somber elements of the story, the menacing pit, the relentless pendulum, and the confining cell are not merely instruments of terror, but also symbols of the trials and tribulations that one must face on the path of enlightenment. Through his masterful use of symbolism, Poe not only engages readers in a tale of suspense and terror, but also invites the possibility of delving into the symbolic journey of a Masonic initiate. This story, therefore, is not just a cornerstone of what is commonly styled Gothic literature, but also a profound narrative that intertwines the themes of transformation, enlightenment, and rebirth, echoing the enduring principles of Freemasonry. Poe's work, as seen through this Masonic lens, reinforces the notion that literature can serve as a powerful medium for exploring and conveying complex philosophical and spiritual ideas and truths. Like and share this article, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you wish to comment, please leave one, and as a reminder, hit the notifications bell. Any accompanying photographs or citations for this article can be found in the corresponding print edition. The Scottish Rite Journal is published by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. Mark Dreisenstock, 33rd degree, Managing Editor. I'm your host, Matt Bowers.